Hello Aquarius, I am Ulrich. I am a Lenormand card reader, but this time we will use a financial deck for your card reading. The deck contains 44 cards and the laying is done with 3 cards you see here in front of me. You can also see 4 objects here on the table, meaning we will do 4 card reading for each astrological sign for the month of July 2021. And this video here is for Aquarius. From these 4 objects you see here, you choose or you pick one that you think relates most to your personality, or you choose one you feel most comfortable with. This object of your choice should or it will relate the best with your current financial situation or the advice that you are receiving from the cards regarding that financial situation. Of course, you can watch all 4 videos related to the Aquarius sign, and after you watched all 4 videos, then you can decide what symbol or object is fitting your personal card reading or financial situation the best. The matches here represent the fire element, the aerosol sprayer represents the air element, the stone represents the earth element, and the shell represents the water element. So, Aquarius, there we go. So, Aquarius, welcome to your card reading. We will start out with the fire element represented here by the matches. So, as the first card here, we will see the card of creativity. So what exactly does this mean? Well, the world is like a place where we can actually buy everything. The current society we live in, it suffocates our ideas, but it also suffocates our imagination. So, and in the end, we end up with no creativity at all. We just buy the product that is put in front of us. For example, you could probably design in a few minutes an ice storage box with recycled materials. But of course, as we all do, we prefer to shop several hours around, and sometimes we pay a small fortune for the item or the box that we want to buy. For instance, if it's your son or your daughter's birthday, with a little inventiveness, you could prepare him a party or her a party and have a lot of fun without to settle for astronomical amounts of money. So with this card, creativity and originality is the order of the day. So start thinking out of the box and ask yourself about your real needs. How could you fill them differently? So take some time today to question your creativity and think about what you could do for yourself by creating and save a lot of money. This card asks you to make room for your imaginative spirit in your kitchen, in the office, in your business, in the management, in your family. So this card asks you to embark on the adventure. The next card we see here is financial lessons. What does this card mean? Well, this is the central card. Did you take yourself the time to upgrade your financial knowledge, but also to educate, if you have children, about financial matters? Also, does your housekeeping and your household with anyone worrying or wondering about cash flow? Are you just reckless and spending, or are you wondering actually about what you spend? The question here asked is, does money fall from the trees from you? Probably not. Sometimes children are very candid and they say, when you're in the store with them, of course, mom, dad, you can pay for this toy. Your wallet is full of cards. The management of personal finances should be part of the education taught to your offspring. It's of course utopian to think that they would get in good financial conditions later on in life if you don't turn them or educate them into knowledgeable consumers. So this card urges you to talk to your children about money, educate them. For some people, it can be considered a taboo. So this card asks you to break this taboo. It asks you to inform them and make them aware of healthy practices. By teaching them the working of a good foundation, you will greatly help them for building their future and their inheritance. These two cards, personally, on you then, can also mean that you need to be creative with the amount of money that you are possessing. That are the first two. Later, we continue. The last card you see here, it's called Visual Reminders on Bank Cards. What does this mean? Well, despite our best interests, nothing helps. Maybe you neglect the question before you buy something. Maybe your memory is playing games on you when it comes to reflect over the necessities and the importance of items in your basket or items that you buy in the supermarket. So this card tells you you need to look at your financial situation. Maybe you realize you have spent the last time some money and you spend the money superficially without thinking. It means we take the cards out of the wallet and we pay. So this card asks you, did you again forget to think about the consequences? So this card asks you to set up a visual reminder and to observe your own habits. It asks you also to stop over-consuming. This card, it also has some tricks. So for instance, what you can do is you put a small reminder, a visual reminder of each of your credit cards. And when you're about to pay, you will see the reminder, the sticker, that will allow you to mentally validate if your shopping is really essential. Meaning the articles that are in your cart, are they really essential? Or did you really need to buy this or that gadget? Is it really essential? So think about that next time when you walk around in shopping mall. Also, it asks you to change your online behavior for buying. A good trick also is here, like for instance, you put on your cart, you change your password. I just give an example. Instead of making it a number, you change the password in like, is this truly necessary, or truly necessary, or even the word reasonable. So when you type this word, it makes you think. And that is the purpose of this whole card, for restricting ourselves and remind us ourselves visually about the expenses that we make. This password will force you to think twice before you confirm the transaction, and maybe you change your mind. So in general, you will need to change these visual aids, of course, periodically. So time to time, you need to change the stickers on your cards as your brain will get used to the stickers, and they will no longer be efficient and let you avoid to buy or the things that you want to buy. This card asks you, and it's in context with the other, to be creative and administer those little reminders on your card So your tendencies for superficial spending would diminish. So going back, in general, this slaying means that you need to educate yourself financially and also those around you from spending behavior. It tells you to be creative with your money or with the money that you possess or you are willing to spend. And it tells you before buying, you make visual aids that you actually realize what you are buying. This is all for the month of July, Aquarius, specific for the matches group. I hope you enjoy this card laying. If you do, please subscribe and thank you for watching. See you next time. Hello, Aquarius, and welcome to your personal card reading. We continue with the next symbol. As you see here, I have the Aerosol sprayer, which relates to the air group. As first card here, you can see here the social pressure. What does this card tell us for the month of July? By nature, human beings constantly compare themselves to their peers, meaning we compare ourselves with our neighbors, with our friends, with people who belong to our direct group in our environments. So living in this community is what actually determines our place in society and our place in relation to other people. So the thing that this card tells you also that we all, including you, operate in a society of overconsumption. Your friends, your neighbors, your relatives, they drive around in a new beautiful car and wearing the nicest clothes. And you, for your part, at the end of the month, you live through difficulties for making meet ends. Sometimes you ask yourself, how do they manage this? All these nice objects, how do they pay for that? This card asks you not to compare your personal financial situation with the people directly around you. It tells you that every day you make your personal choices and you are the one responsible for those choices. So it tells you not to be fooled what you see around you. What looks good here, this card says, don't necessarily, what looks good on the outside is not always the case. This card tells you that you live according to your needs and your personal abilities. It asks you to define yourself socially by yourself, by your personal accomplishments. There, of course, is ultimately more in life than nice clothes, beautiful cars. That is what this card is. This card tells you not to bend for the social pressure of people around you. The next card. This card means superficious. This card means, like, it asks you how many purchases did you make in the last month, and actually you were able to avoid making these expenses. How much money has gone up in smoke, this card asks you, without really generating its value. It asks you to think a few minutes to assess your expenses of the previous days and maybe months. You put your bills together, you output your bills, your credit and your debit card statements, what your disbursements are, and maybe the things you already bought that you're forgotten about. This card asks you, could you have done without those things? It asks you to calculate the sum of these incidental costs. Would you have been able to avoid them? What could you have done with this money on the long run if you didn't spend it? What could you have offered yourself after you did not spend this money? Like the majority of the population, you are probably spending a lot more on frivolous and unnecessary purchases than you think. By limiting your extras, you can accumulate serious, attractive amounts of money. Maybe you can use this money for savings, investments, if you have some outstanding debt, for paying the debts, or even for retirement or a trip that you have planned for a very long time. This card is drawn for you, so it asks you to take the opportunity to think for these unnecessary goods that you buy, and it asks you to change your habits. It tells you if you do so, you will have taken an important step towards being more financially healthy. The last card we have here is our needs. We all are unique individuals, including yourself. We are different. We distinct ourselves from others. The same goes for our daily life and our existence. This card asks you to consider and to think what you really need, what your really basic needs are. It asks you to take your time to compare in your situation what is fundamentally necessary and what is considered to be an option. It asks you to analyze your condition. Again, as in the previous card, it asks you to distinguish what you are obligated to buy and what you actually desire to buy. Maybe a fair and a precise analysis of your situation will allow you to identify and really believe and assess what are the essential expenses. But then you come to the conclusion that actually these things that you thought were essential were rather unnecessary. Actually, you probably know that you could have done without them. By eliminating these incidental purchases, it tells you if you do eliminate them, you will be able to quickly improve, making some savings and get financially more healthy. The unnecessary and luxurious purchases, they should have their place, but maybe at a predestined time. Maybe you need to focus and you need to think like, at that exact moment, I will buy this, instead of being not organized. It asks you to organize the things that you buy. If you make those purchases consciously, you will be surprised how much more enjoyable and appreciative you will be for the things that you are looked out for a long time. And things that were in your planning maybe for a long time, maybe a trip you had for a long time, maybe an article you wanted for a long time. It asks you to organize. So coming back for this month for you, it asks you not to bend for the social pressure of media, for people around you. The second card here, to avoid superstitious goods that you buy, to avoid them, and to actually think about what you really need. So if you not buy the things that you don't really need, you will be able to make some serious changes for making adjustments in your life. This is what it says here for this month of July, Air Group of Aquarius. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and see you next time. Hello, Aquarius. Next we're going to do is the stone group related to the sign of Aquarius. The stone group relates to the earth signs. The first card you see here, it says ancestors. What does this mean? It asks you to think about your current living conditions, meaning your grandparents, your over-grandparents made it possible for you and also for all of us to succeed where we are right now. Before, in previous times, in general, there was only one salary for the wife and probably a large family, several children. These people, they lacked things even if they were in retirement. This asks you to reflect. Maybe you assume, at least that's what this card tells me here, or that's what this card represents. You assume, and maybe you think they were better off than you are right now at this moment. But maybe this is not the fact. Maybe this is what you tell yourself, but it's actually magical thinking. Think about the situation of your ancestors and what distinguished their and your generation and how contented they were with the few things they had. For instance, they had no access to credit. They were paid accordingly to what they earned, what they worked, and nothing more. There were no trips to abroad, no exotic herbs, nothing to be discovered. They needed to be very conscious. For instance, home loans were long paid off before retirement. Now we are actually in the opposite or the reverse situation, as we all know. But at that time, that situation was unacceptable, non-existent, and impossible for them. So the question that this card asks, is this really the same for you? It asks you not to compare their comfort to yours that you have right now, because there is no parallel. So it asks you to reflect on the old days, on your ancestors, and think about the concessions they made to get there. So it asks you to really reflect on your situation, because maybe you currently experience some malcontentment. The second card we have here is the value of the small bills or the coins that we have when we pay something. This card asks you, in general, all of us, but this now applies on you, we pay little attention to the small coins. Meaning if we pay something, we don't really add value to them. A large group of people are struggling to meet ends. And sometimes we spend so much that we don't actually realize that we always spend small amounts of money, and on the long run, it amounts up. So we pay small things, they don't seem very big, without actually thinking about it. This card asks you to give it sincere attention and a critical look. And it asks you, if the invoice or the bill in the supermarket is smaller, do you look at it at another way? Some people also are very sensitive or easy to persuade it for discounts. Actually, this card is out about depreciation of the real value of your money. It tells you to be cautious with your money, and small amounts amount to a big amount. So actually, you consume more than you have previewed. It's also telling you that this is blinding your financial clarity. As we know, it takes a lot of coins or small bills to get to 100. This one then forges itself in 2000. So it tells you each small amount or each coin is of great importance because you put energy in that for your work, for achieving that small coin or that small bill that you spend. So the next time you are in the store or you do some purchase, it asks you to rate what you really and to realize what you really have bought. Look at the articles that you bought, look at the gadgets that you bought, and ask yourself about the necessity of them. It asks you if you still really value the small amounts of coins and small bills that you are spending. It asks you to reflect if you really overspent the last weeks and months. It asks you to give small amounts of money their real value back. And it asks you to let it have its moment of glory. Eventually, this card tells you if you are careful with your money and you spend less, you will accumulate serious amounts very quickly. Next card here is overconsumption. What does this mean? Well, we live in a world of overconsumption, so we are daily confronted with advertisements. So your definition, it tells you yours and maybe our general definition of essential obligations is no longer the same of that of our parents. So it's all a little bit in context, grandparents, parents. It applies on previous generation, that's my point. While they were aspired to provide for basic necessity, today our basic necessities have changed. That is what this card says also. For instance, a smartphone and a cell phone are basic necessities. None of us can live without it. Even internet is a daily practice. And for some of us, travel is a necessity also. So it means this card that society has evolved and also yourself, you have evolved. So our essentials are been and deplaced. So it asks you to evaluate your real needs within this new form of society. And then it asks you questions. With all these gadgets, do you think that you are happier than your ancestors? Maybe this card implies it's like a drug that sometimes we are blurred by over-consuming and we lose our perspective. Sometimes we collapse under these unnecessities and we lose sight of the very essence of life. This card is about consuming too much or hyperconsumption. Spending don't make happy. That is what this card tells. So it asks you to determine and to re-evaluate your minimum needs and estimate your non-essential expenses. Then it also asks you, would you be worse off if you didn't buy all those superficial attributes? So at the end, it comes to this. This card gives you the advice to learn to live according to your basic needs, not what the society tells you or holds in front of you. If you do so and you go your own way, your wallet will be better off this month. So coming back to our situation, evaluate where you are and where previous generations were. Be happy what you have. Learn to evaluate and re-evaluate the real value of small amounts of money that you spend, and be aware of overconsumption And don't let yourself be influenced by any media or any publicity for buying or consuming. So that's all for now, Aquarius, for the Stone Group or Earth Group. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Hello, Aquarius, and welcome to your financial card reading. This time we continue with the Shell or the Water Group. The first card you see here, it means food. What does this mean? We live in a hectic world today, and to maintain our standard of living, it tells you maybe that you run behind budget. Maybe in the last months or weeks, you have been overspending. So you were forced to work even more. It tells you not only your problem, but this specific is on you. Maybe there's a lot of takeout foods. It tells you maybe you need to focus on cooking your own foods. You buy healthy foods and you cook them yourself. It asks you to reconsider and see your cooking as a healthy procedure and also as an art. As we know now, it's much easier to let others cook for us, to buy takeout, to eat in a restaurant, fast food, or even gourmet dish, whatever it is. So the household management and expenses in recent years have literally exploded for a lot of us, but specifically for you, this points to you. So maybe your takeout food expenses have been exploding in the last months. So it's like you have no more time to devote yourself to your pots and pans because you work all the time and you catch yourself working all the time. You need to pay for your expenses, for your takeout foods. And the more you work, the more expenses you have. It asks you if you are not able to cook more healthy for yourself and try to get rid of the hefty bills of the takeout foods and the things you buy that are pre-prepared. It asks you to break the chain of overspending and unhealthy food the coming month, and that you plan more home cooking, maybe like you used to do. It asks you to rediscover the joy or discover the joy of the culinary art, and it asks you to eat better. You will feel financially better, and also you will feel better. A lot of us over the months because of Corona gained weight. So it's also a possibility that maybe through the homework and not going out so much, you gain some weight, and it asks you to take care of your health financially and body-like. The second card is a little bit out of context here, but we try to give it a spin later on. This card speaks about heritage. It tells you not to rely on others or on your parents for money in general, but this card is also more specific. It tells you that maybe you need to reevaluate some of your ideas you have, and some of us think that it's unnecessary to accumulate savings for retirements because maybe you're expecting some money from a relative or even or from your parents. Maybe they get older and you think it's almost on your doorstep. This card tells you not to be fooled. It tells you not to be utopian, and it tells you that it's actually dangerous to rely for money or for your inheritance on others. Unless, of course, that your parents are very sick. Also, it tells you you didn't actually read their will, because you never know what people are going to do. It tells you to reflect. It asks you also, are you sure that you're their sole heir? And the question related to that, will you be till their last breath? So it asks you not to make that mistake. Also, it asks you to think about the life expectancy of our parents. Over the last year, a lot of people get older. The life expectancy has exploded over the last decades, and your parents will likely live much longer than the ancestors before. Also, you need to incalculate as they get older. They gradually maybe need all their savings, and maybe are in need to sell their house for pay for services, for survival conditions, for their own survival. Of course, you cannot blame them, because it's their right to live and their basic right. Secondly, each individual has the right to change their testamentary. If we agree or not, they are the one who decide. Some people change their mind and they change their will. Also, maybe you need to incalculate. This card says maybe your father or mother is very conservative and traditional, but you never know that mother or father will not succumb to the young Venus or Cupid, and he will not decide to favor her or him at the expense of the descendants, which is you. Of course, I'm aware that an inheritance can be part of a retirement analysis, but nonetheless, you need to be careful. Again, with the medical advancement these days, you could find yourself with a parent living at the age of 80. So it tells you to make a retirement plan, because that is what this card also is about. You need to make a retirement plan for yourself. And if you do so, gradually you will gain a lot of money, and your savings accounts will improve. So it tells you not to rely on others and make a retirement plan. The last card that we have here is about deals. Maybe the situation financially is a little bit difficult for now, and you're making some plans, you rely a little bit on others, and you buy discounts, because that is what this card is about. Maybe you like the idea that you buy discounted items. Maybe you actually spend a lot of time in the sections of liquidations in hope to find some beautiful object or a piece of clothing or something that you don't actually need. You're looking for something that you can buy for ridiculous amounts of money. This card asks you to understand that every time you buy such an item on discount, you only get a good deal if you are absolutely sure that you bought it as a lower price as the full price. So it asks you to look clearly and don't be overwhelmed and bewitched by the sales. Keep yourself cool and ask yourself questions if it's really its value and if it's really discounted. Ask yourself what is a reasonable price, and the question following out of this, do you really need this object? If you're always looking for discounts and unnecessary things that you buy, maybe you spend more than you anticipated, and it asks you if it's really necessary. Also, sometimes maybe you feel urged to buy in bulk. You also need to be aware that buying in bulk does not necessarily means savings, because some of us who buy in bulk after the article is maybe expired or the food is expired, or for some reason you give it away to neighbors or friends. So it asks you if this you buy in bulk, if this bulk buying is really economizing your financial situation. It asks you not to overflow your things with items that will only accumulate in your stockroom, and you might be later bring to recycling. So it asks you to ignore any discounts and liquidations, and you will improve financially with it. So coming back, try to eat healthy, try to cook yourself, and try to spend a reasonable amount of money on healthy food. Try to start cooking again as you did before, or start cooking. Here, don't rely on others for money, not your parents, because probably there's an issue there. They are unable to give you money. It's not yet the time, or they need the money for themselves. And the last card you can see here, as we just said, ignore discounts and things that you don't really need. So that's all, Aquarius, for the month of July, for the shell or the water group. I hope you enjoyed my card reading. If you did so, please feel free to subscribe, and see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.